We're live. Hey,
Hey.
we're live.
Hey. Live.
So, the last time we recorded, like a month ago,
Yeah.
we said we were going to do Indiana Jones. And we're going to do that
Yeah.
next week.
Huh?
So, that's set.
All right. So we'll do that next week.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that next week.
All right. Oh shit! Now I gotta remember what was in that movie. Oh. The only
Turns
thing I
out
remember
it's
from that movie
Indiana
was
Jones is in it.
the only thing I remember from that movie was Sarah yelling at Asians in the movie theater.
Well,
Yeah.
so, you know what? I want to just jump right on in.
Okay.
Hey, this is Tony.
This is Anna.
And this is David.
And we are the Backseat Producers. And tonight we're going to talk about Barbie.
Let's
And
go.
I
Barbie.
just have something to say that's not about the movie itself, but about the patrons of the movie that we were with when we saw the film. And I have been to movies opening weekend with fans of the genre of the movies that they're seeing.
Yeah. Hot Tub Time
And-
Machine.
Yeah. We were there. Like I've been to my fair number of Batmans on opening night. And those crowds are mostly young men who get the like they get stereotyped as being rowdy, disrespectful. I'm gonna change the stereotype to being female moviegoers were terrible when we went to see Barbie. The young woman that's sitting next to me had this in front of her the entire movie. She had her phone in front of her typing furiously, and she was on some kind of Snapgram, InstaChat bullshit the entire movie. There was a woman in the row in front of us who kept taking pictures of the screen and Facebook messengering them to people.
But it
These
didn't have
were
the closed captions.
right? These were not the only two people in the movie theater that I could see screens like throughout the movie. I just kept seeing screens of people.
Yeah.
The Batmans don't see that. You don't see that in the Batmans.
No, it's a different type of. So what
It
I
was
noticed.
so weird.
What I noticed when we went to see it is there's a point about midway through the movie where all the girls of a certain age who went to see the movie realized this was not a fucking movie for them, were bored to tears, and checked out, and then just started hanging out with their buds.
I wonder if this is an effect of the young women who there was this whole series of Barbie movies, Barbie animated movies that came out 10, 15 years ago because Aaron was on the tail end of getting all those videos as we got them, some of them after they had been out for a while. They were still making them, but I wonder if those were young people at the time that were looking for a nostalgia from those, and this did not feel like a nostalgia movie for those people. I can tell you because I was with one of the people who it was nostalgia for, and it was 100% nostalgia for my wife.
Sure, yeah.
My
Like,
wife.
my wife. Yeah, it was like, it felt like probably 40 plus year old women probably had a lot more nostalgia for this movie than 30 and below. I think there's like a 30 to 40 is maybe, but I think there's a split there for the nostalgia factor of the movie.
I feel that I mean, it is my impression that um girls haven't played with Barbies in 20 years in general. Because there have been brats, there have been so many other dolls that have filled that role in a way that's more compelling, um, at least for um, more recent femme people. So I am curious about. I mean, number one, I'm thinking about at least from my perspective, there aren't many movies that are aimed at young women, like movies that hit. There's a lot that hit streaming, but that hit the movie theaters. Um, like there are, I mean, like even since Twilight almost. Um,
Was
for Teen
was
Wolf,
well well I mean, we had like the Hunger Games and the Divergence.
that's true.
Um
But is that? But
Oh.
that's young adult in general. Is that just girls?
I think it was
Mostly.
aimed more toward that audience.
That's true.
Was it? Just because it had a female lead?
I you know, as a movie producer, from the movie producer's angle and from the marketing, I would think it seemed to be marketed more toward a younger female audience as opposed to the Star Warses and the superheroes that tend to get marketed toward the young masculine audience
Hmm.
or the old nerds.
Mhm.
It feels like a lot of the targeted piece of Barbie to draw in like younger girls was that the movie was going to be pink, and then what drew in the moms was the nostalgia, but then the content of the movie was about a lived experience that girls don't have exactly yet. So like it feels like a lot of that America speech in the middle was not for a certain audience in the audience just yet.
And some of it was a little dark too, for because I had this awkward moment. We were surrounded by, I guess, what, tweens and teens, and so there was this line. It was the line where Weird Barbie is putting on stereotypical Barbie's makeup, and she's, stereotypical Barbie's upset and is like, I don't want to hurt him, blah 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 blah. And Weird Barbie's saying, but he brainwashed your friends, but he destroyed your house. And I just like cackled.
Yeah. Oh, it was great.
It was a cackle of recognition, and I was alone in that cackle. Because all those tweens and teenagers have not made that mistake yet.
Okay. All right. So
but
I want to pause this discussion for a moment just to take a half a step back so that we can do our high level thoughts, just so we get that out of the way. Because it's been a while, but we don't want to forget where we came from here. Anna, what did you think of the movie?
I found it confusing. Well, it was fun. It was fun, and I felt pandered to, and which felt good, and but also like thematically very confusing and kind of frustrating in that way.
David?
So I enjoyed the movie. But there's also some weird messaging in the movie that like just kind of is getting glossed over in a weird way by people that is confusing to me. But I enjoyed it. Like there were several things in there that were hysterically funny. Many things in there were hysterically funny. Tony.
I love this movie. I really, really loved this movie. Um, I thought I think there's a depth to it that can really easily be glossed over. Um, but I think there's a lot. There's actually a lot to unpack with the story. And like I can legitimately see this movie being up for a writing Oscar, for a music Oscar, for some performance Oscars. Uh,
Michael Cera.
yeah, no, Margot Robbie for one. Her performance was wonderful. Uh, and yeah, I, I I really thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It was very uncomfortable, as it should have been
Was
for
it?
someone like me. Yeah, they there was messaging in the movie that was meant that could have been meant for men to feel uncomfortable about, and that's not a bad thing. And I don't say that like like the whole Fox News, it's anti men and all that. It's not. It's anti patriarchy. Uh, and like like Anna, when you said you felt pandered to, sure, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a time for it. I mean, I'm pandered with almost every superhero movie, so sure.
Oh.
But I really liked it.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I just don't know that it's the whatever it is of the 21st century that's going to redefine cinema. I mean,
I
It has
wouldn't
to be
say
that.
that.
I
No,
know.
it doesn't have to be that. But I think it's uh, probably the best written movie that I've seen this year so far.
It is really well written. I'm not on board with Margot Robbie's performance. I mean, it was fine, but yeah, no, there were a lot of good writing moments in that. I'm
Yeah,
seriously considering seeing it again. Um, but yeah, um,
I need to give myself a little more internet. Give me a moment.
then
Yeah,
I
you'll have
will
to
run
But
and get myself a
continue.
glass for wine.
fading out of existence over there like the Back to the Future.
There we go. That should help. So,
You don't have that fiber internet over there, Tony?
no, don't get me started.
My
Actually, they put fiber internet into the neighborhood, but it's not with a provider that anyone has ever heard of. So I haven't gone with them yet.
I'm rocking that
Supposedly
1300 down and up right now, Tony.
nice. That's awesome. Uh
You
yeah,
are sharp.
Mhm.
AT&T was supposed to put fiber into the neighborhood two a year and a half to 2 years ago, and it still hasn't happened.
Yeah,
Like
why would they do that?
yeah, I don't know.
Because they can charge you the same amount of money without any infrastructure layouts.
Right.
Because capitalism fosters competition, which will improve everybody's lives. Oh, wait, it does not do that.
Right.
So something that I really liked about Barbie was that it was so layered that um, that there was this kind of existential piece. Something that I wish there had been more of, and I think would have helped with the younger audiences if there is this is if there had been more attention to the daughter instead of America Ferrera. I think there could have been a lot of fun things done there. Um, but it's also about like ending girlhood and mother-daughter relationships, and but then there's also this like fun reality piece of playing, of how you play with a doll or how people imagine a thing brings it to life, almost like the Velveteen Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like done in a lot of things, like Indian in the Cupboard, that's done in so many children's stories and stories in general, that could have been pushed on more. Not that it even had to be pushed on in this movie, but like, do you think this could potentially like be a franchise, even if it's a small one? Because there were like strands of it.
It could be, except that the way this movie is framed, to franchise it would kind of undermine this story.
This movie's gonna make $1 billion
It will.
with a B. So
Yeah.
you know what we're gonna get?
We're gonna get
The Mattel
sequels.
Cinematic Universe, and I think they've already greenlit a bunch of other movies in this similar vein. Although, you know, who knows what messaging is gonna get?
Like, when you say that, what do you mean? Like Mattel or what?
Yeah, like Mattel properties.
Oh,
let me find what
there was a meme going around that was just a bullshit meme, but it's not the first time we've seen things like that, where a movie does kind of well, so they start trying to make it the new MCU out of it.
Mattel plans for 17 more films after Barbie's success.
oh, that's a little much.
Is it though? Because the only thing we will produce in the next like 20 years from now is going to be a movie in every major cinematic universe, which will be all of them. Everything will have to be a cinematic universe. See, Polly Pocket. Oh, Uno.
That's the bullshit meme that was going around.
It's from the Independent. I mean,
that's not a real thing.
You're not a real thing. Let me find a real article for Tony.
I mean, I guess if it's just Mattel, and I mean, like, projects could be anything. That could even be like straight to, you know, some small streaming thing. Or
well, there was probably a dozen of those animated Barbie movies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there were a bunch of Barbie games too, which are hilarious.
Does Variety count as a...
Variety counts.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Barney, Polly Pocket. I'm not reading the rest of this article.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah. No,
I mean, all those make sense.
They do have a lot.
I mean, shit, they're making a Gran Torino movie. Come on.
Oh my god. First off, it's Gran Turismo.
Wait,
whatever.
I thought Torino,
right,
that was already made.
Yeah, they already made
I'm
that.
thinking,
that was Gran Turismo movie. I have sat through the preview for that movie like half a dozen times now, and it is sickening. I don't understand who the fuck thought that would be a movie that needed to be made.
Sony did, apparently.
Why?
They're trying to push that so hard.
I know, and it looks so fucking bad.
Yeah.
And like all the CGI they have around like the video game car materializing around them, I'm like, this could be cool in literally any other movie. But this just looks like shit. Why?
Yeah. I mean,
Daniel Kaluuya is producing the Barney movie. What the fuck is going on? Lena Dunham is writing Polly Pocket. J.J. Abrams is writing Hot Wheels. This has to be a joke. This has to be a joke. This has to be a fucking joke. This is the Variety article. Are you fucking kidding me?
But where is Variety getting sourcing? See, that's the problem now. is you've got people making jokes, and then
Yeah,
you've
and then
got legitimate news sources picking up on stupid memes because they're trying to shit content out.
it's not even people. It's just AI sucking
Oh,
up
that's true.
memes and turning it into an article.
Yeah.
All right, I have to confirm that
I'll
Rock'em
let you.
Sock'em Robots. It's in IMDb.
Okay, I would watch a Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie though. I would
Who
be
do
there
you
for
think
that.
they have starring in it?
Well, it's got to be Stallone.
Nope. Vin Diesel.
Oh, that makes sense.
Does it though? Does it?
I mean, he was Groot. Why not?
I know who he was.
So, Barbie. And I like what you were saying about how it tracked with like how you play with the toy, how that relates to the story that's being told with it. Um,
That sort of making the world of what happens in Barbie Land. Yeah, that kind of bleed. The fact that America Ferrera's, God, what was her name as a character? I forgot. But, that she was creating that Barbie impacted Barbie herself.
yes.
That was, I feel like a lot of really fun, interesting things could be done with that in the Barbie world specifically. Yeah.
Well, and that was one of the points that it didn't dawn on me until after it was pointed out after the fact,
Mm-hmm.
with like specifically the stereotypical Barbie, the Margot Robbie Barbie, why some of the other Barbies actually related to their Kens, but she didn't. And it was because America Ferrera did not have a Ken doll. She states
That's right.
she didn't have a Ken.
That's right.
So therefore, Barbie didn't need the Ken because she
Yeah.
never had one.
Yeah.
So that's why Barbie wasn't relating to Ken in the way that Ken was relating to Barbie.
It's like there was just such weird messaging around that whole situation with the Ken thing, because she's like, you can just be who you are, independent of me. Okay, but Barbie, he was literally created for you. So like that, but that is his identity. That is who he is.
Okay,
But
that messaging though, you know who that
it's
messaging was
awkward.
for? You know who that messaging was for?
Yeah, I know who it was.
It was for fundamental Christian women who were taught
I
that
get
they
it.
were made to serve man, and they don't have to be that. Like that was so good.
Yeah, no, I
get
thought
it.
that was brilliant.
Yeah.
I get it. But also
what? No, that was the perfect messaging there.
yeah, but the messaging doesn't make sense with the world that the Barbie world they're creating, Tony. It doesn't make sense. They sacrificed the integrity of the Barbie universe to make a heavy-handed point to Christian women.
But I think it does. And maybe that's actually going to make me change my mind about the sort of frustrating, confusing nature of the movie. Because that's the absurdity of it. Like, you can't have a culture because for a very long time, our culture was so Christian.
Mhm.
And like the Western tradition, like from like the Greeks, women are failed men. And like obviously the Christian tradition, women were made from men. And so like ontologically, like there is no woman without a man. And so you can't just, God, there's like, oh God, what is that lyric from that 90s? You can't just like slap her on the rump and tell her to go on. Like men don't exist. God, what was it? Where have all the cowboys? No, it wasn't that one. I think it was You're the Captain. I don't know. Anyway, it was some Fair song.
Who's the captain now?
And so it's disingenuous, and that's complicated but if this movie is for Gen X and older millennial women, like it's disingenuous to sort of say, oh well, just like do your thing and pretend men don't exist, when you have this whole patriarchy framework, like psychologically and just infrastructurally. And so and it's just as ridiculous as telling Ken, when he has no house, that like, okay, go ahead, like do your thing in the world. He has no house, he has no like philosophical existence, political existence within that world. And no, I thought that was honestly like one of the more insightful moments of the movie. And part of what I struggled with the movie was that, there seems to be, and maybe you have to be careful about thinking about like the idea of stereotypical Barbie speaking for the themes of the movie, or the overall themes of the film, but just the idea of, that there can be any kind of equality in Barbie land when Kens have been materially disenfranchised. Like you can't have in my opinion, in the world, you can't have political equality without like redistribution of wealth. And I'm sure that's not what Mattel wants to say, but
and they don't.
That feels obvious from the whole Barbie situation. And I feel like that like one moment really points to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also bummed. Okay, so I have this whole interesting history with Barbie, in that for a long time my mom wouldn't let me have one.
Okay.
And so in the like mid 80s, I had initially a bunch of Happy to Be Me dolls who had realistic proportions. Mm-hmm. And afro hair. And then there were some like specifically like brands of Black Barbie type dolls that were like separate Black owned brands. And I had some of those. And my mom was just so dismayed because I was constantly like, they're ugly and they're fat. And I hadn't even seen a whole lot of TV in my life at that point.
No.
And I like begged and begged and begged for a real Barbie. And finally I got a couple of Barbies. Like it was still only Black Barbies, and which I appreciate, like her intentions were so good. And then my sister, who was, I think by the time she was like still teething, on the tail end of teething, and she was being weaned kind of late because my mom was very crunchy. And gnawed on Barbie's breast. So my Barbies had these gaping holes in their chests. They wound up first having floppy boobs because they had been chewed. And so in so many ways, they looked like real women's boobs at a certain point. They flopped and then they just disappeared. And there was a gaping hole, and she teethed their feet. So they had no feet. They just had the little plastic stalks coming out. They were so rough.
I think it was almost an understatement to say that you had a complicated relationship with Barbie.
I think a lot of people have. But
yeah, as we were watching the movie, Julie was really excited to see some of the toys as they were presented on the screen. The dog that rolled around and pooped, and she's like, "Oh my god, I remember!" And I'm like, she's like, "Don't you remember that?" And I said, "No." No, I don't. She's like, "Well, you had to have seen the commercials." I said, "Maybe, but I'm a boy and I only had a brother." Like there was no, my mom was a female influence in the house, but I didn't have young, I didn't have female siblings. My female cousins, we only saw on vacation, like a couple of times a year. Like even like my friends, didn't really have sisters. Like it was just the friends I had didn't happen to have sisters, or were like, I did have a friend who had a sister, and he was like 12 or 13 and she was an infant. Like she was
Yeah.
a change of life baby, you know. So like we just didn't have that same um it wasn't as part of our daily life. So no, I didn't remember the dog that rolled around and pooped. But apparently that was a big old thing, and Julie was very excited to see that on the screen.
I don't,
Um,
yeah. When did he come out? I'm gonna seek. I don't remember him either, but that might have been a bit before me. I don't remember any boys' toys. Like, I mean, I remember
sure,
in general. I have a sister. It was just me and her. I remember some GI Joe, like very in general, like probably the sound of the jingle. But
sure,
I was not one of those girls who, like, I was offered a wide variety of toys, and I was not interested in
sure.
them, other than the super femmy one. So
Um, so like that's that was kind of the realization I had for the movie, as being
uh,
really targeted and made more for the mature audience than the younger audience. Um, you know, when Barbie's telling the story of that she's going to look for the girl who who was giving feeding her these ideas, and I'm like, that wasn't the girl, that was the mom.
Yeah.
Like they were showing, like, the scenes they showed, the mom was in everyone. I was like, this is not about the little girl.
yeah.
This is about the mom, 100%. And like at first, it's like, man, am I calling this movie that easy? Is this movie projecting itself that much?
The
But I
heavy hand, Tony.
sure, there was a heavy hand at that point. But also I think there needs to be, if this is also, this is the rare movie that, okay, so in kids movies, there are always two layers to the movie. Like there's the layer for the children, and then there's the layer for the adults that are forced to go to see the movie with the child.
Yeah.
Um, Pixar was doing really great for a long time with that. More lately, it's not as strong. Um, Poorly written children's movies they don't have that divide, and the parents are just, clawing their eyes out the entire time they're having forced to watch the movie. This movie is kind of the reverse, where this movie's really made for the adults, and the kids that happen to go along with it because it's Pink and Barbie. I think there's enough heavy-handed storytelling that they can follow it and still enjoy it. Somebody asked me if they should take their daughter to this movie, because it was a guy I work with, and he's like, and I was like, "How old is she?" And she's like, "Oh, she's like 6 or 7." I said, "This is a PG-13 movie." I said, "Not that there's really anything, like, there's some jokes that are questionable for a 6-year-old to be repeating. However, I think most of those are going to go right over their heads. But this is not a movie made for children. At its heart, it's not. Like the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, when they're still in Barbie land, like, I think any child would just eat that up. They might not get it all, but they'll eat it up. Once they go into the real world, not so much. Though there was one scene in the real world that I really didn't like. Like, I just didn't like it because it like threw me out of the story that was being told. And it was when she was escaping from Mattel, and like there was this Keystone Cop thing where she was escaping from Mattel, that I in the moment I didn't like it, but like after the fact and I thought about it, it's like, well, Mattel really wasn't the real, like when they went into the offices of Mattel, that really wasn't the real world either. That was kind of a fantasy land unto itself also.
Mhm.
So it's kind of forgivable, but like in the moment, it it was goofy in a weird place.
So, like, yeah, the Mattel space. It was very Doctor Strangelove,
Sure.
that room and everything. But so I don't feel like I fully understand, why didn't you like her escape from it?
It was when she's running through the cubicles and they're chasing her and running past each other. It just
It's
for
super
the
silly.
it was really silly,
Yeah.
and it felt like they went back to Barbie Land without going back to Barbie Land. Like, that
But
was it. There was a logic of that kind of action in Barbie Land, but we were in the real world. Even if it was the Mattel offices, it was supposed to be in the real world.
yeah, but Mattel's like it's the embassy for Barbie Land and the real
You're
world.
you're right, and it was only after the fact that I became okay with it, but in the moment, I was just like, "Oh, man, this is a little bit cringy."
Yeah, it did. No, I cringed, but I think I sort of wove it into the logic of the film as also part of how they were, because they needed to do something for younger viewers and for kids, because in many ways they were marketing a PG-13 movie to kids, and
Mhm.
I was kind of shocked at, like, looking at my friends at how young some people took their kids to see it. And but maybe I can also see how that was a cheap appeal to kids. There are way better ways to do that than
Mhm.
the silliest chase in the whole wide world.
Right, right, and that really wasn't, like, I guess there was part of it that was marketed with that scene there. I do remember seeing a clip of that scene in one of the trailers, but
Yeah, well, and I wasn't thinking about the marketing. I was thinking of keeping their attention in a section of the movie that would have been less interesting for a
you're
young,
right. You were absolutely right
especially a
about
real
that.
young audience. I feel like the whole real world situation would have been a big snooze fest, misbehavior.
Yeah.
Like, I always think, I guess, as somebody who used to teach, like, the minute kids are bored is when they start to do shit. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I don't
like,
I don't understand the point of the Mattel board in this movie at all. Like the only function they serve in the entire movie is to motivate her to go back, because she's like, I don't want these people following me anymore. We should escape to this place. But then they
Well,
serve no other function throughout the movie.
they did serve the function to show a cartoonish version of patriarchy in the real world.
It
and
is that what they were doing though? Because they show up at Barbie
so.
Land and, like, they're not the bad guys then? Like, I'm
well,
not
that's
really
the thing.
sure.
And that's part of the confusing part, is nobody's the bad guys. Because this is also, like, or really bad. The bad guys aren't really bad. Because, I mean, part of, like, when people wake up to the problems of patriarchy and that kind of thing, like, what you have to include and that is, like, violence against women and rape, and this is a kids movie. And the thing is, men aren't, that's, like, the weird disconnect, because there's, like, literally no reason why the threat of men, like, for women, like, on an individual level, not necessarily, well, also on a systemic level, but, like,
Sure.
individually, is rape and physical violence, and you can't really pull that into Barbie Land for a lot of reasons, and especially not in something that's remotely marketed to kids. Otherwise, it gets real narc.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think the other weird thing about so the closest we have to bad guys is when Ken comes back and introduces patriarchy into Barbie Land.
Mhm.
And then he kind of becomes a bad guy. But we can't I think there's this real weird messaging that the filmmakers, and I'm not talking about like the Mattel or the corporations or anybody else, but I'm talking about the filmmakers are walking a really fine line there, because This is somebody who has been oppressed, who learns that there is a way that they don't have to be oppressed anymore, rises up against the system and makes it a place for themselves, but then become reoppressed. And if they are the bad guys, but if they are the bad guys, that kind of makes women the bad guys in the real world. If they want to rise up and take down the patriarchy and claim their rightful place as equals within the system, to make the Kens truly bad would be a really weird message for women who deserve equality and who want it and are fighting for it, and um
Well, and politically, if you think in terms of like oppression in general and not just gender oppression,
sure.
It's real problematic because it sort of like makes the argument that, because I think towards the end it sort of says, it gives it, there's a line that gives you the sense that Kens will have to like make their way and earn their equality just like women in the real world, like that is somehow okay. Like women should have had to have taken a century and to be able to vote, and that feels yeah, deeply concerning.
One day they might have a say in Barbie Land.
Yes.
This
Yes.
place they live.
Yes. Which, if you think about like other kinds of conversations around oppression, and then that becomes, that's really gross, which was part of my other issue.
It's a conversation that is weird and nuanced, and it's a conversation I did not expect when I went to the Barbie movie.
Did you not?
I did not.
Even with all the fanfare around the movie ahead of time?
What fanfare? The Fox News crowd saying that it's anti-man?
I mean,
they do that about everything that they think is go woke, go broke.
they
So
do,
I'm
but
not.
also, let's not pretend like it hadn't gotten the same press treatment from a lot of other super leftist places where this is like the greatest movie that's ever been made.
I mean, I expected for it to be a much more streamlined ode to liberal feminism. And I feel like it's way more complicated than that.
Which I thought was actually kind of a cool and interesting message from the beginning of the movie, where Barbie Land thought that it was introducing equality into the real world, and it thought that they had created this platform for women to know that they could be anything and that they should be equal because we did it here, so you should be doing it in the real world. Like it spoke to the intention of what they believed Barbie should have been, but not what it was in the corporate patriarchal real world.
Well, and then also like the complication of that too. Women being empowered doesn't mean that good things will happen necessarily. And even her maker, Ruth Handler, being, yes, she was disenfranchised, but also she was a little problematic in a lot of ways. And I thought that was actually what was going on with the boardroom situation, was that Barbie Land wasn't separate from patriarchy. It was a tool of it.
Oh.
Ultimately. a sort of
Boy, that would have been
spiritual-
dark. That would have given it a darker turn.
And I guess what makes it a bit less dark is the fact that the dudes are so cartoonish,
Mhm.
and that helps. But that's kind of how I read them in their role, and I appreciated their role. I just felt like, yeah, that was no patriarchies in Barbie land, and they've just flipped it. But it's still the same script because you've got like this board of directors uh, that's operating that way in the real world. And it helps a little. Will Ferrell makes it less upsetting.
He does have a pleasant face.
I wouldn't call
Not
it pleasant.
not an attractive face, but like a pleasant.
Jovial.
Yeah. It's not an upsetting face.
There is a naivety that he can bring across even at his age.
Yeah.
Which is like why a movie like Elf is successful. Because
Yeah,
he can just pull that off.
that's true. By all rights, Elf should be upsettingly creepy,
Should be.
but it's not because of his face.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, he gets away with calling Peter Dinklage an angry elf. Ooh, you're an angry elf.
I hadn't thought about that till now. That is.
Never seen it, you racists.
It amused me that two of the Kens were from Marvel properties. Shang-Chi was one of them.
Simu Liu.
Yep. And the Black Ken is in Secret Origins.
Secret Origins.
Yeah, it's the most recent one with Sam Jackson.
Isn't that Secret Wars?
Nope, that's a movie that's coming out later.
Oh.
Or
Yeah.
not Secret Origins. Secret Invasion. I'm sorry, Secret Invasion.
Yeah, there we go. There
That's
we
the
go.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, apparently we've had comments.
Man, I got maybe 3/4 of the way through that first episode of Secret Invasion, and I was like, "This is real bad," and I deked out.
I watched it. It was fine. It did one thing that I wanted to see.
Was it bring Olivia Colman into the goddamn MCU?
That was the second thing I wanted to see, and it did, and she's wonderful.
She's always wonderful.
So I don't know if this is true, but apparently it's been going around on the TikToks that the scene in Barbie where she meets the the four girls in high school, that
Yep.
those girls visually represent the first four Bratz dolls,
Yes.
who Barbie Mattel famously sued because they're a ripoff of Barbie.
Did they win that suit? Because that's kind of bullshit.
I thought they did.
Really?
I think they did. Yeah.
Maybe the Bratz looked more like Barbie back in the day.
They changed the look of the Bratz after the
Okay.
lawsuit.
Okay, that would make sense because, yeah, they're nothing like. When Barbie went to war with Bratz in the New Yorker. I'll have to look at that later.
Yeah.
Yeah. $88.4 million.
So I just got sent a TikTok earlier this evening by my wife because she knew we were talking about this, where someone referred to Barbie as hang on a second. Let me get the wording right, because I want to make sure I'm doing this justice, because I think it's a valid talking point. but let's not actually watch TikToks here. Um, what is going on? So, where's the video? I need a moment to find. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it was referring to Barbie as Black Panther for white bitches.
Yeah.
And then they went point by point through the movie how the Barbie movie is beat for beat the same story as Black Panther.
Interesting.
Uh,
Is this your king moment?
okay, it's a hero who lives in a secret land. I'll just
intentionally secluded from the rest of the world, though you can enter this secret realm via certain modes of transportation after leaving and interacting with the outside world. The hero is faced with questions about their society and why its systems are set up the way they are. A usurper with knowledge of the outside world takes over the magical land, and he has all kinds of new ideas about how they should run things. His sudden access to power would change the outside world as well. In the end, the hero confronts the usurper, who chooses to give up on his own accord, thus restoring the balance of power. The hero convinces everyone that the usurper's ideas were mostly wrong, but they do incorporate some of his principles to make a more just society. The hero then takes steps to become a presence in the outside world. Great movie.
yeah, that describes both of those movies, and the video clip that accompanies that is just shows scene from Barbie and scene from Black Panther, like how point through point it is made that there are those same through lines in each movie.
I did sort of, and I think that was more even, I wasn't thinking about that as I watched the movie, but kind of before looking at the marketing. I remember feeling that way and thinking that way.
Like
in the way, but I didn't think about it in terms of the story beats, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, they are kind of broad in general.
Sure.
And I think they'll probably describe a lot of movies, but definitely the relationship between Barbie Land and the real world is really similar to Wakanda and
Yeah.
the real, I guess, the rest of the globe.
So I just have to say that Ken was really goddamn great.
Yes.
Like the way Ryan Gosling played it throughout, and just it felt so earnest at every point. And I liked what they did with the type of patriarchy that Ken brought back to that he brought back to Barbie Land, because and Julie pointed out that the one thing that she really felt like was missing was the Barbie horses, because there were Barbie horses and she always had the Barbie horses. Well, you know what? If America Ferrera's character didn't have the Kens, and perhaps they couldn't afford a lot of the accessories, so maybe she didn't have the horse either, which is why when Ken comes back, he's all about those goddamn horses, which was really funny. And like, if you think about it, it's also a lot more kid friendly to be about bringing the horses back instead of the guns and like it's totally about that mindset,
Yeah.
but without having the iconography of the guns and the Punisher skulls and
Well, it does a phallic substitute in a way that you can show to kids.
Yeah.
And I felt like, although kind of with Julie, I would have liked a word for the horse girls.
Yeah.
When we sort of had said, oh God, I've learned that the horse is a man extender or something like that. Somewhere in there that there had been a word for the horse girls, just because there are so many.
Yeah.
And
Well, I almost wanted there, and I don't know if this, I'm sure that this is just a property issue and an IP issue, but the full size GI Joe dolls,
Mhm.
like that was such a thing that the full size GI Joe dolls would always beat up the Kens to come in and and get with Barbie, you know.
Well, so who is GI Joe Hasbro?
Uh, I think
I'm
so.
looking it up now.
It's changed hands a few times, but I think it is.
GI Joe is yeah, no, I actually, what would delight me the most to sort of come out of this would be, yeah, they're Hasbro right now.
Yeah.
Would be some independent creator making kind of a satire of the whole thing and extending it, because I would love some kind of, I don't know, interaction between Barbie and the like knockoff Barbies, or
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
or Briar horses coming in. Um, some of that like shit. Like, there's just, it's comedy gold. Like some of the things you can do with that.
Yeah, everything that Ryan Gosling did in the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie
Mhm.
was just I was transfixed. I thought he did it was just so much fun. The Ken song
Yes.
was
Yeah.
really good. Uh all the music was really good. I liked the music every morning that was actually narrating everything that was going on. That was a lot of fun. Uh just but all the Mojo Dojo Casa House, uh when he is wearing that hoodie that says I'm Knuff,
Yes.
like I was like, I want one of those.
That
I
was
want
the
one of those
best.
hoodies. Yeah, I want
With
one of
my
those
dad,
hoodies.
yeah.
And I would wear it.
Yeah.
I just would.
I cried like after the movie, because I was like, oh, if my dad were alive, I'd give him so much shit about this. 'Cause his name's Ken.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I would have definitely given him giant amounts of shit about this.
yeah, yeah. Well, I told Julie, like, uh the office that I'm in, the room that I'm in
Mhm.
is like at at a point when we moved in the house, when we realized we were only going to have two children, and I was like, I kind of want this space for my stuff, my geeky stuff, my Star Wars posters, my stuff. And so the office has always been mine, my space. So I said, I really want a poster that will hang on the front, the outside door of this, that it's Mojo Dojo Casa House. Just because I think it's hilarious in that it is the it is the poke at toxic masculinity that in the way that I want to just lean into and just to have fun with it. So yeah. I also loved how his design when when he went back and took over that outfit that he was wearing.
Mhm.
It was based on that triptych picture of Stallone that he saw. It was there were points of every one of those outfits. It was like, oh my god, that's just so good. Like that he picked that as the imagery that he wanted to build his empire off of.
Do you know? So because like thinking of awards, I felt like he probably, I thought his acting like ran rings around Margot Robbie's, and I wasn't sure like if it was the acting or if he got better line. Like, do you know what generally the interaction between Ryan Gosling and directors have been? Is he sort of like Matthew McConaughey, where he
I
leans in and brings things to this writing, or
I don't know,
Kind of
but
trying to look up now, but
I saw a lot of marketing
mhm.
after the fact that was him just leaning into being Ken.
He was so good.
Yeah.
In the marketing, like in interviews and
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
Like I saw this thing going around where it was like how to be a Ken, and it's like you need to have your sunglasses so you can give her, and then you have to wear a second pair of sunglasses so she can have
Yes.
those.
Yeah.
Like in the whole thing, like it wasn't it was about how every good, strong woman who's out there in the world making her place needs a Ken.
Mhm.
Not because she needs a Ken, but she can't do everything.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be there to help her out wherever she needs it, but she doesn't always need it. But if she does, I'm here. It was all about, you know, being there
Mhm.
for the woman that you're with. Which I thought that was just really, really great. It feels like he has taken on this role the same way that Robert Downey Jr. took on the role of Tony Stark. And like while he was still in that role for years, he would make appearances as places just acting like Tony Stark. Like because he felt that he had a
Yeah.
responsibility to do that. If there was a kid there who thought he was Tony Stark, like he was just going to act like that, even if he came off like a little bit like an asshole, because that's how Tony Stark is. Um, but yeah, there's stories of him doing that. Um, and I don't know if this is just Ryan Gosling being a good little corporate shill, or if he was just enjoying the role so much and just leaned into doing that in the marketing.
Well, and that fits with like the whole meme of him from a long time ago, like feminist Ryan Gosling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of like brings things full circle in a fun way that was kind of part of his persona already.
Yeah. We didn't talk about some of the other Barbies. Like it was
Midge.
What's that?
Midge.
Yeah.
Oh, Midge. Oh. Always retired.
I loved how they just kept referring to President Black Barbie. that was really funny. And seeing Issa Rae in that role was really good. I thought she nailed it.
Tony, no one has said the best line from this goddamn movie yet.
Which one?
And it's, I was inexplicably invested in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. And I don't feel people in my theater laughed as loud or as hard as was necessary when that line came
You were
up.
the only,
Yeah.
pretty much the only.
I did. And I can't honestly tell you if anyone else did in my screening, because I kind of drowned out the hearing of anything else with my outburst of appreciation at that line. Like,
That was
I don't
my
know.
experience also.
Yeah, I don't know if other people would have laughed at it. I don't know if I would have heard it. Because that was a really great goddamn line.
So funny.
It's Barbie.
Let's go, Barbie.
Apparently, I missed that from like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I mean, I liked how I liked Weird Barbie's place and how the other Barbies that were with her, like the Barbie who said math is tough, like had to go. I think Teen Talk Barbie had to live with Weird Barbie because she was sort of rejected by mainstream Barbie world.
It was hilarious to me that she was always inexplicably in the splits. Helen Mirren as the narrator was fantastic. And I think that my second favorite line from this movie was when Margot Robbie's talking about how tough it is to be a woman and look like a woman. Helen Mirren says something to the effect of, note to filmmakers, when if you're trying to make this point, don't have it be delivered by Margot Robbie. Like, that was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were all
Yeah.
really great. There was a trans woman who was a Barbie, and
Yeah.
there, right? Were you aware?
I have to go. Okay, wait.
Hari.
Hari Neff.
There it is.
Okay.
She was Dr. Barbie, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Just have that in there and don't point it out.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it should be.
Michael Cera.
Michael Cera as Alan. The reject of the Kens.
That is America Ferrera's real husband.
Who is?
Her husband in the movie.
Oh, okay. I liked how his character was such a non-character that I just forgot that.
Yeah, I didn't remember that he had a husband.
Oh, what about Dad? Oh no, he's doing his Duolingo. He'll be fine.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and then you hear it chime, and Julie just turned around and looked at me. She's like, I recognize that sound.
That's right. You're at 800 days or something like that.
800 and something.
Wow,
yeah.
That's great. That is good.
That's so many days, Tony.
It's so many days. And now it's gotten to the point where they actually make it easier for me to maintain the streak. Like, every time you hit certain milestones of streak, they give you a bunch of bonus streak freezes. So like normally you just have the 2 that you can, like, if you're good, you can keep that going. Even if you miss some, you can earn them back. Now, like, every time you hit 100, like I just hit 800, and they're like, here's 3 more streak freezes that on top of the 2 that you already have. So like I could miss 5 days in a row and maintain the streak. I have an 800 plus day streak. That's probably over the course of closer to 850 days because I've missed some.
Yeah, but like that's also like a neat study in motivation.
Yeah. And honestly, there's times I do a really easy one just to get it done at 8:40 or at 11:45. Oh shit, I haven't done it today. I gotta jump on that. But yeah, the Duolingo thing with Dad was really funny too. I was telling Julie as we left, I bet the monologue that America Ferrera has in this movie is going to be a monologue that a lot of high school drama teachers are going to be hearing quite a bit as audition pieces for young women who are trying out for a role, because it's a great speech, really well delivered. If America Ferrera gets a nomination for anything for supporting, they'll clip that monologue as part of the role of showing why she's been nominated.
Yeah, I mean, and she will. She'll get her nom for that.
And she should. The daughter is young Gamora.
I did know that.
I recognize her. She was also in some show the kids used to watch as a very small child.
I don't know, but that
Yeah, I don't remember what the show was.
it feels like the mother-daughter plot with those two was like half a plot too many. It's like there wasn't a lot of time with it, so it just felt like we had to have a mother-daughter thing in here. So let's just jam this on here, even though we're not going to do a whole hell of a lot with it. But
I felt in part that there was an even stronger mother and daughter plot with Ruth Handler and Barbie.
so
It was
Rhea
not given
Perlman's a
much time.
witch, right? She's a witch, right? Is that what we're going with?
There's a ghost.
Ghost witch?
No, they said she's a ghost.
Why are you saying which?
Because she uses magic to transform Barbie into a real person?
I think that's part of the. I think that's part of the sort of Velveteen Rabbit trope of like through love and connection with the human that objects can become real. And it's not just through like the Ruth Handler character, but also through like her interaction with America Ferrera that like deepened her and let her have an existential experience. And then like the final part of that was like holding hands with the person who made her and like being given sort of the gift of being told like you're an equal and separate being that like sets her free and lets her become human. And I think like that's also where maybe, and I don't know how they would have had time with that. I feel like there was an imbalance by not having a little bit more going on with the mother-daughter plot of America Ferrera and her daughter. Because there's a lot like in theories of like maternity and motherhood and mother-daughter relationships, and this in terms of like the reproduction of mothering, that like for women to develop and become their own people, they need to have this moment where their mother kind of gives them permission to do that. And you know, in a variety of ways, some ways like even like more conflicted than like what happened there. And so I felt like that was kind of what was going on. It wasn't so much that she was a witch. She was like a mother who was granting that to her child who she created, but who is also equal and separate from her. So Barbie didn't need to have that object subject relationship with the world anymore. That like circle of dudes at Mattel would no longer have power over her, despite potentially, you know, sort of having made her. Does that make sense? That's what I thought was going on.
No, I think that's a great viewpoint on it. But they do also literally say she's a ghost.
Yeah.
That's a literal line in the where he's like, yeah, she's a ghost on the 7th floor or whatever. We let her
also,
keep space there.
But also, it's Will Ferrell, so that could be literal or not literal.
Right. Well, and that's kind of it's
essentially Barbie meeting God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The creator, her creator. I think this movie will have one Oscar win, maybe 2. And the 2 Oscar wins, if they get them, will be for writing or for song. Unless some other song really comes in and knocks it out of the park, which right now it's not looking like there's a whole lot of opportunity for that.
I mean, costuming is going to get on there too.
Costuming, sure. Yeah.
I don't think Margot Robbie will win.
I think America Ferrera has a better shot to win supporting. than Margot Robbie does to get lead.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ryan Gosling could win for supporting.
I think he might win for supporting.
I think if they tried to put him in the lead, that's a bad move. He would never win as the lead. But I think there's a strong likelihood of him winning for supporting.
Mm.
It would be fun. It would be fun to see, and I think a movie like All the Time, Everywhere would actually kind of gives this movie permission to win some awards. Because it was a genre movie that was with minority cast, with about people who are not who you normally see winning Oscars. It feels like the year after that won a bunch, a movie like Barbie can come in and keep doing the same thing, unless Hollywood freaks out and doesn't want it. If there's even going to be Oscars this year,
Why would there not be Oscars this year?
they've already postponed the Emmys like 5 months, 4 or 5 months.
Oh, the
because
strike. Yeah.
The strike. It would be the strike would be the only reason.
The strike is super important.
It is. It is. The people that have the money need to make sure that the people who are creating the art that they're making their money on get paid for doing so.
I think it's more important than that because it's
It
the
is.
first biggest collective action around artificial intelligence, which is important and is going to have like a reflective effect across a lot of industries.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of industries. Like how many people are using ChatGPT to just do the writing portions of their job now? Because it's a lot. It's a lot.
I have a coworker that every networking question that he has, he runs through ChatGTP just to get a baseline for where to focus his research and where to look at software solutions, code that he can use.
Yeah. I also read that Grammarly today is switching over their service so that everything that goes through it for their recommendations is now training their AI. Which
I'm
is like,
surprised it wasn't our
oh,
company.
Oh, you mean they're admitting it?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's doing it.
Google has been learning how I type for years, and telling me how to phrase things, and even more so in the last couple of months. Like
Yeah.
I type 3 letters and it finishes the sentence for me. It's like, wow, that's almost what I would have said.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No,
getting scary good.
Yeah. It used to be not right for me. And then, yeah, it's adapting to where, yeah, it's saying what I would say.
Yeah. And I word things weird sometimes, and yeah, it's picking up on some of that.
Yeah.
This is our terms of service. Did you guys ever watch Joan is Awful? The first episode of Yeah. That episode is should shine a spotlight on the problem for both of the current strikes that are going on, writing and acting.
I mean, if Annie Murphy doesn't win an award for shitting in that cheerleader outfit aggressively I don't know what we even give awards for anymore.
Right. That was a great episode.
That was a really good episode.
I don't know that I have a whole lot else to say about Barbie.
Me neither. But I'm tired and I want to go to bed. It's also like balls hot in here.
I cranked up the air and turned the fan on, so.
I've discovered a problem with my air conditioner.
Oh.
It is unpleasant. Well,
All right. Let's call it a night then. So next week we'll talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
hot.
All right.
Have a good night.
See ya.